welcome back to the channel. Rarest coins. Today, I have an incredible story that proves just how valuable some of those old coins lying around can be. Imagine discovering that a 1965 Lincoln penny, a coin that's been sitting in your collection or change jar for years, is actually worth a whopping $2.2 million. Sounds like something out of a movie, right? Well, get ready because today, we're diving into the unbelievable world of rare coin collecting, and this story is going to blow your mind. Before we get into the incredible discovery, let's take a quick look at the 1965 Lincoln penny itself. The Lincoln penny, which has been a symbol of American currency since 1909, features the iconic portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, and for years, the reverse depicted the Lincoln Memorial. By 1965, the penny had been in circulation for more than half a century and had seen a variety of designs and changes, but in 1965, nothing seemed out of the ordinary. In fact, 1965 was a transitional year for the U.S. Mint. The Mint was facing a shortage of copper, so they began producing coins with a copper-nickel alloy instead of the traditional copper composition. But what wasn't so obvious in 1965 was that one very special penny would have an extremely rare minting error that would make it worth millions. Rarest coins. Now, let's take a look at how coins are made. The U.S. Mint operates massive machines that strike thousands of coins every minute. Most of the time, the dies are perfectly aligned, and coins come out as intended, but sometimes, mistakes happen. With billions of pennies being struck every year, there's always the chance for an error, and one rare mistake in 1965 would forever change the fate of a single Lincoln penny. In the case of the 1965 penny, an incredibly rare minting error occurred when the die was misaligned during the striking process. Instead of being properly centered, the coin was struck in a way that caused a part of the design to be incomplete or slightly misaligned. Rarest coins. Now, there are a variety of minting errors that can happen, from double dies to off-center strikes, and even missing elements, but the error we're talking about with the 1965 penny is something much rarer. This coin had an extreme error, an off-center strike, but it wasn't just any off-center error. In fact, it was one of the most severe cases ever recorded. An off-center coin occurs when the die presses the coin onto the metal at an incorrect angle, causing part of the design to be struck off the coin. In this case, the 1965 Lincoln penny had such a significant misalignment that a large portion of the image of Abraham Lincoln and the Lincoln Memorial was completely missing. This kind of error is incredibly rare, and it immediately caught the attention of collectors when it was discovered. Rarest coins. So, what makes this particular 1965 penny worth $2.2 million? It's not just the error itself, it's the rarity of the error combined with its condition. Once this penny was discovered, it needed to be authenticated by professionals to confirm its authenticity and determine its value. In the world of coin collecting, authentication is everything. Grading companies like PCGS and NGC have experts who closely inspect every coin. They check for authenticity, the quality of the error, and the overall condition of the coin. In this case, the 1965 penny was in near mint condition, which made it even more valuable. Rarest coins. Why is condition so important? Well, the better the coin's condition, the more valuable it is. A coin that's been sitting in circulation for decades can become. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Rarest coins. Today, I've got an unbelievable story that's going to blow your mind. We all know that rare coins can be worth big bucks. But what if I told you there was a 1971 Lincoln penny that sold for over $1.2 million? You heard me right, a simple penny from 1971 that's worth a fortune. Stick around because this is one of the craziest coin discoveries you'll ever hear. Rarest coins. Before we dive into the jaw-dropping discovery, let's take a look at the 1971 Lincoln penny itself. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909. And over the years, it's become one of the most iconic coins in the U.S. The 1971 penny, like most pennies of the time, featured Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. Rarest coins. In 1971, the U.S. Mint produced billions of these pennies as part of a regular circulation. At the time, There was nothing particularly remarkable about the 1971 penny. It was just another cent circulating in the economy, but things were about to change for one very special coin. Rarest coins. To understand how this coin became so valuable, it's important to know a little bit about the minting process. Back in 1971, the U.S. Mint was in full production mode, cranking out billions of pennies at their various mints across the country. While most of these coins were struck perfectly, the mint occasionally made mistakes. Some of those mistakes, like the one we're going to talk about today, turned out to be incredibly rare and valuable. Rarest coins. So, how did a simple 1971 penny end up being worth over $1.2 million? Well, it all comes down to a very rare minting error. The penny in question wasn't just your average 1971 coin. It had a unique flaw that made it extremely valuable to collectors. This particular coin had an off-center strike error. What does that mean? Well, when coins are minted, the die presses the design onto the metal. Usually, the design is perfectly centered on the coin. But for a small group of 1971 pennies, something went wrong. The die wasn't properly aligned, which caused the design to be stamped off-center. This meant part of the coin's design was missing, and in some cases, a significant portion of the image of Abraham Lincoln or the Lincoln Memorial wasn't even visible. Rarest coins. Now, off-center coins are not exactly common, but they're also not super rare. So, what makes this particular 1971 penny so special? Well, not all off-center coins are created equal. The value of an off-center coin is determined by how extreme the error is. If the coin is only slightly off-center, it may not be worth much more than a regular coin. But when the error is severe enough that a significant portion of the design is missing, as was the case with this 1971 penny, that's when the value starts to rise. The more extreme the off-center strike, the more valuable the coin becomes. In this case, the 1971 penny was struck with a misalignment so significant that it immediately caught the eye of collectors and experts in the coin world. Rarest coins. But just because a coin is rare doesn't mean it's automatically worth a fortune. Once this 1971 off-center penny was found, it needed to be authenticated and graded by professionals to determine its true value. In the world of coin collecting, authentication and grading are critical steps in determining a coin's worth. This process ensures that the coin is genuine, that the error is real, and that the coin is in the best condition possible. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Rarest coins. Today, we're diving into one of the most jaw-dropping stories in the world of coin collecting. We're talking about the rare penny, the 1970 Lincoln penny, and how one of these tiny coins was recently sold for a staggering $1.1 million. Yes, you heard that right, $1.1 million for a penny. So, if you're into coins, or just love an amazing story of hidden treasures, stay tuned because this is a must-watch. Rarest coins. Before we talk about the shocking price tag, let's take a quick look at the history of this penny. The 1970 Lincoln penny was minted in Denver during a period of high production, so you might think it's just another common coin from the 1970s, right? Well, not exactly. In 1970, the U.S. Mint accidentally created a rare mistake with the Lincoln pennies. A few pennies were struck with a very specific and unusual error that made them extremely valuable. Rarest coins. Here's the twist. In 1970, the Mint was experimenting with new machinery, and some of the pennies that came out of the press were, well, off. You see, a very small number of 1970 pennies were accidentally struck with a reverse die that was designed for a different year. This resulted in a mint mark that was off-center, creating a unique error coin. But here's where it gets really interesting. This mistake wasn't just a minor flaw. These error coins are incredibly rare, and one of them, in mint condition, fetched an incredible $1.1 million at auction. Rarest coins. So how did this coin come to the attention of collectors? Well, it all started when a keen-eyed coin collector noticed the subtle but significant error in the mint mark. A casual glance at a jar of pennies turned into the discovery of a lifetime. After being authenticated by a professional grading service, this penny hit the auction block, and the rest is history. With collectors worldwide vying for the rarest of the rare, The final bid topped out at $1.1 million, making this penny one of the most expensive coins ever sold. Enthusiastically, so, why exactly is the 1970 Lincoln penny worth so much? First, it's all about rarity. While millions of regular 1970 pennies were produced, only a handful of these error coins exist. Second, the coin's condition plays a huge role. The penny that sold for $1.1 million was graded as being in near-perfect condition, making it even more sought after. Pointing to the coins, as you can see here, even slight differences in the minting process can drastically change the value of coin. So if you have a 1970 Lincoln penny lying around, it's definitely worth taking a second look. Rarest coins. Now, let's talk about how you can identify these rare 1970 era pennies. The first thing to check is the mint mark. Make sure it's a AD and not another letter or completely missing. Then, inspect the overall quality. A near-perfect coin with minimal wear is more likely to be worth something special. Excitedly, and, of course, look for signs of that unique die error. It's often subtle, but a trained eye can spot the difference. If you find one of those in your collection, you could have a valuable piece of history on your hands. Rarest coins. So, there you have it, the story of the 1970 Lincoln penny and how one of these rare coins sold death. Hey coin collectors, history buffs, and treasure hunters, welcome back to the channel. Rarest coins. Today, we're going to dive into a truly jaw-dropping story that involves one of the most unsuspecting coins you could ever imagine, the 1976 Lincoln penny. That's right, this penny, which is typically worth just 1 cent, could potentially be worth an insane $1 million. No. This isn't a typo. Stick around to find out how a regular 1976 penny could fetch such an unbelievable price at auction. Now, I know what you're thinking. 1976, that's a pretty ordinary year for a penny. And you're right. In 1976, the U.S. Mint produced billions of pennies. But, as it often happens in the world of coin collecting, a rare mistake can make all the difference. And in the case of the 1976 Lincoln penny, there was just such a mistake, one that made a tiny fraction of these coins worth millions. Narrating. So, what makes a 1976 penny worth $1 million? Well, it all comes down to a series of rare and accidental mistakes that happened during the minting process. But before we get into the specifics, let's rewind for a bit and talk about the year itself. Rarest coins. 1976 was a monumental year for the United States, marking the nation's 200th birthday, or bicentennial. The country was celebrating its independence with parades, events, and, of course, special commemorative coins. In fact, the 1976 quarter, half dollar, and dollar coins were all specially designed to commemorate the bicentennial, and they featured the famous bicentennial reverse design. While the commemorative coins stole the spotlight, the humble penny continued its regular design as the classic Lincoln portrait, designed by Victor David Brenner. But amidst all the celebration, something was brewing behind the scenes at the U.S. Mint that would create a coin unlike any other. Rarest coins. Now, the story gets interesting. Due to the sheer volume of coins being minted in 1976, a rare mistake happened in some of the Lincoln pennies. You see, in the rush to produce billions of pennies, a small number of them were accidentally struck with the 1976 D die paired with the wrong reverse die. This created an error, a rare, slightly off-center, and in some cases, double-struck 1976 penny. This mistake wasn't immediately obvious, but upon closer inspection, collectors noticed something wasn't quite right. The mint mark was misaligned, the die was faulty, and, in some cases, the coins had unusual markings that you wouldn't normally see on a standard penny. This type of error coin is what we in the coin world call a die error or a striking error, and it's extremely rare. So how does a $1 million penny come into play? Well, a few of these rare 1976 Lincoln pennies, in mint condition, have been found over the years, and one of them, after being authenticated and professionally graded, was sold at auction for an eye-watering $1 million. Just imagine, a penny that's worth just 1 cent in your pocket could, in the right condition, be worth a fortune. The coin that fetched $1 million was in nearly perfect condition, with minimal wear and tear, which made it the ultimate prize for collectors. With a mistake like this, the rarity and the error combined to create a coin that's nearly impossible to find in perfect condition. Rarest coins. Speaking slowly, so, what exactly makes this 1976 Lincoln penny so valuable? First and foremost, it's all about rarity. We know that the U.S. Mint produces billions of pennies every year, but errors like this one are rare. Welcome back to the channel. Rarest coins. Today, we've got a crazy story for you, and trust me, you're going to want to hear this one. Imagine holding a coin in your hand, one that's worth just 1 cent, and then realizing that it could be worth over $1.5 million. Sounds impossible, right? Well, that's exactly what happened with the rare 1968 Lincoln penny. Yes, a penny from 1968. Stick around as we unravel this incredible coin story and how it became worth millions. Rarest coins. Before we get into the story of how this penny became worth $1.5 million, let's take a quick look at the 1968 Lincoln penny itself. The 1968 penny is part of the famous Lincoln cent series, which has been produced since 1909. It's a classic copper coin featuring Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. While the 1968 penny is generally a common coin in most people's collections, this particular one had an error that made it one of the most valuable pennies ever discovered. You're probably wondering, how could an ordinary penny become worth a small fortune? Let's dive deeper. In 1968, the United States Mint was busy churning out billions of pennies. At the time, pennies were being produced in huge quantities to meet the high demand for coins, and the U.S. Mint had multiple facilities in operation. In fact, in 1968, a total of over 4 billion pennies were produced between the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. Rarest coins. During this mass production, there were a number of routine errors that occasionally occurred. But it was one particular mistake that turned this penny into a $1 million discovery. The mistake that made this 1968 penny so valuable wasn't the typical die crack or misalignment. It was something far rarer. The rare error we're talking about here is an off-center die error. What happened was that a small number of 1968 pennies were struck using a misaligned die. This meant that the coin was stamped off-center, creating a unique and imperfect design that immediately stood out to collectors. Normally, when a coin is struck, the design is centered, with the die aligning properly to imprint the image perfectly onto the surface of the coin. But with this 1968 penny, the die wasn't aligned correctly, which caused the design to be offset on the coin. The result was a rare, off-center Lincoln penny that was unlike anything else produced that year. Rarest coins. Speaking seriously, so, why does an off-center coin matter so much? Well, in the world of coin collecting, errors can be extremely valuable. The more unusual and rare the error, the higher the price a coin can fetch at auction. Coins with off-center strikes are particularly prized because they're not just flawed, they're unique. A properly struck coin is perfect, but an off-center one is considered a misprint, which makes it a one-of-a-kind item. Rarest coins. Unlike the millions of normal 1968 pennies produced that year, this error coin is a true anomaly. And it's that rarity, combined with the coin's historical significance, that gave it such an incredible value. Now, you're probably wondering, how did this penny go from being just another coin in circulation to being worth $1.5 million? Well, it all started with a collector who had a sharp and a bit of luck. This particular coin was found by a dedicated coin enthusiast who recognized its rarity almost immediately. They took it to a professional coin grading service to have it authenticated. Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Rarest coins. Today, I'm going to share with you an incredible story that proves the world of coin collecting is full of surprises. Imagine finding a 1978 Lincoln penny, something that seems ordinary, and realizing it could be worth a cool $1 million. Sounds unbelievable, right? Well, today we're going to dive into the amazing tale of how a 1978 penny became one of the most valuable coins in history. Stick around, this is one story you won't want to miss. Rarest coins. Before we jump into the jaw-dropping discovery of the $1 million penny, Let's first take a quick look at the 1978 Lincoln penny. The U.S. Mint has been producing Lincoln cents since 1909, and the 1978 penny is part of the same classic design. It features Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, a design that has remained a staple of American currency for decades. In 1978, the U.S. Mint produced billions of these pennies, and like most coins, they were generally used for small transactions. The 1978 penny didn't stand out in terms of design or significance. It was just another year in the history of the Lincoln cent. But little did anyone know, a few of these coins would become some of the most valuable in the entire series. Rarest coins. Now, here's where the story takes an incredible turn. The value of the 1978 Lincoln penny skyrocketed because of a very rare and unexpected minting error. You see, the U.S. Mint was cranking out billions of pennies in the late 1970s, and with such high volumes, sometimes mistakes happen. One of these mistakes happened with a small batch of 1978 pennies that were struck with a major error. This error, a die mistake, caused the coin to have a rare and very noticeable feature. The 1978 penny was struck off-center. But it wasn't just slightly off-center, it was a major misalignment of the die, causing a noticeable portion of the coin's design to be completely absent. Rarest coins. So, what exactly does an off-center strike look like? Normally, when a coin is minted, the design is perfectly centered on the coin. But with this error, the die wasn't aligned correctly, resulting in a coin that looked as if part of the design was missing. Some of these coins had significant portions of the Lincoln Memorial or Lincoln's face struck off-center, leaving large blank areas on the coin. The result was a visually stunning coin that stood out immediately to collectors. While off-center strikes do happen from time to time, it's the degree of the error and rarity of the coin that can make these pennies so valuable. The more extreme the error, the more it piques the interest of coin collectors, and a small number of 1978 pennies with these rare off-center errors began to surface. Rarest coins. Now, let's talk about how these rare 1978 pennies ended up in the hands of collectors. These coins didn't just pop up out of nowhere. Like many valuable error coins, they were discovered by diligent coin hunters and collectors who were going through rolls of pennies from 1978. Most of the time, these collectors were looking for something special, an unusual die crack, a double die, or perhaps a rare off-center strike. Rarest coins. But when a collector found one of these 1978 off-center pennies, it wasn't just a small discovery, it was a game-changer. The rarity and extreme nature of the off-center strike immediately raised the coin's value. As more of these coins were discovered and authenticated, the buzz around them began to grow.